Today, we are very pleased to have invited Ms. Emily Leung, Analyst of Euromonitor International, and Mr. Vincent, Director of Really Design, to share with us their insights on the market trends in retail industry. Audience are welcome to submit questions to speakers via the Q&A function on Zoom. Selected questions will be answered at the end of the webinar. Without further ado, may I pass the stage to our first speaker, Ms. Emily Leung, Analyst of Euromonitor International, to share with us on a new era of shopping, how retailing industry can reinvent itself. Ms. Leung, please.
Hello, and good afternoon to you all. I hope everyone is staying safe at home during this pandemic. For today, I'll be talking about the future of shopping, and especially on how changing technologies and consumer profiles and various digital technologies can impact the landscape of retailing. But before we begin, do let me take a little bit of time to introduce myself, who we are, and what we do. I am the guest speaker for today. My name is Emily Leung, and I am the analyst who is in charge of service and payments for Euromonitor International here in Hong Kong. As a global market research firm, we aim to provide strategic market intelligence to help our clients make informed business decisions. We research over 30 different industries and various different types of economic indicators. We currently operate 15 offices globally and have been expanding rapidly. For the past 2 years, we opened up 3 different offices, one in Düsseldorf in Germany, one in Seoul, Korea, and of course here the one in Hong Kong. So now that we get to better connect and engage with our clients. Let's just quickly go over today's agenda. The first step for us will be to understand the future of retailing by looking into who our future consumers will be. Then we will explore some new technologies and industry trends that shape the next generation of retailing. Finally, we will list several examples and analyze on how companies are adapting to tomorrow's shoppers' trends, traits, and also their personalities. So, who are exactly tomorrow's shoppers? Here you are looking at a chart of the homemakers. By homemakers, we mean the heads of household, which is the person who is recognized by such other members as the lead of the household. This is usually the person who manages all the household affairs and holds around 50% of the household expense purchase decisions. We are seeing that in future, the breakdown by age in different parts of the world by 2030. We believe that Generation Z, which is the segment which is colored in blue and will be aged 20 to 39 by 2030, which means that they are currently those people who are aged between 10 to 29, will be the largest population segment worldwide. And they will definitely take over the roles of homemakers and household heads, impacting family consumption patterns. So you may wonder, we now know what age group they are, but what do they do exactly? How do they spend and how do they react? So let us move on to the next slide and dive deeper. By 2030, we expect to see Gen Z replacing millennials and Gen X to become the heads of household and tomorrow's shoppers. So who comprises of Generation Z and how are they different from millennials? Simple answer would be that millennials is someone who is born between 1980 to 1995, whereas Generation Z are those that are born between 1995 to 2008. We can see that both generations do share some mutual personality traits, but they are also quite different. Both segments are likely to postpone starting their own family as they prioritize personal interests such as education and career over having marriage and children. Although both generations are technologically savvy, I would say that millennials actually adapt into technology, whereas Generation Z were born into technology. A simple illustration is that millennials are comfortable with controlling a couple of screens at the same time, whereas Generation Z can actually manage 5 to 6 devices at the same time. Generation Z are the most ethically diverse and educated generation in history. They are very independent, while millennials are a little bit more collaborative. The millennials are the generation of rent, but while there are signs showing that Gen Z will be interested in home ownerships as rentals in major cities becomes practically unaffordable, as we can see in the case here in Hong Kong, while housing market stabilizes and attracts some home buyers. In short, let's summarize the 5 key traits that defines the shopper of the future. They are digital natives, real tech experts, I would say. They are individualistic, meaning that they're keen on doing things their own way. Thirdly, they are pragmatic, which means that they are more mindful of financial issues and tend to be more realistic. And fourthly, they are open-minded, meaning that they are tolerant to differences and accept diversity. Did you know that currently the interracial marriage rate in the world globally is 15%, and we expect it to continue to increase? And last of all, they are socially responsible, meaning that they are committed to make the world a better place. Here in Euromonitor, we conduct an annual consumer lifestyle survey, and in the most recent 2019 edition, survey respondents said that 28% of 15 to 29-year-old shoppers stating that buying eco and ethically conscious products actually makes them feel good about their purchase. Now that we have quickly learnt the DNA inherent in our future generation of shoppers, let us think about what kinds of families they are more likely to form and their values, which definitely should be addressed by retailers and brands. Here we see 4 major trends. The first trend is they tend to be more mature homemakers, as they are starting their family at a much later age. We can see that the current average age of marriage is 29 years old. So by the time this generation is 30 years old, they will be starting to form families, which is much later than the previous population we have. Second, gender diversity. We are seeing that gender roles are fading. And as consumers, and as suppliers, you will be targeting a much larger and much more unconventional audience base. Thirdly, we see family diversity. So forget about the picture of mom, dad, and 2 kids. We can see that Generation Z's family is so multicultural and no more heterosexual. With more than one decision maker in the household, suppliers really need to avoid any sort of cliched advertising. And last of all, cocooning. We can see that the general consensus is that Generation Z will be relatively wealthier thanks to their Generation X parents. You can spot that Generation Z, despite their young age, have already started to save for their house. With the continuous trend of cocooning and the spread of COVID-19, it is plain to see that people will want to live in more smart and comfortable homes. So now we understand their personality and we understand the forms of families that they are more likely to form. But how do we reach them? What would be the exemplary way to attend to Generation Z? One great illustration will be this example from German DIY home improvement retailer Hornbach, which currently operates in more than 9 European countries. Traditionally, when we think of home improvement categories such as faucets, tools, and grills, you think of a man in the household doing this. But now, we see that this advertisement actually breaks the cliches and depicts the future consumers and embraces the trends that we just went over. Here, you're seeing a woman who is experiencing the same household difficulties as a male, and you're witnessing her working in sweat and dust in her house. We are watching her strong inclination towards home ownership, her pragmatism as she decides to take matters in her own hands. Gender inclusivity is another issue that is on top of every Gen Z's agenda. In the past decade, we've seen car manufacturers and watchmakers breaking stereotypes by targeting female groups in their campaigns. We are also seeing this trend in beauty and fashion, thanks to the influence of K-pop culture as well as Gen Z's open-minded nature. In 2015, Estée Lauder's brand Tom Ford launched their breakthrough hero product, the Lips and Boys Lipstick Collection, that features 50 feminine shades and 50 masculine shades of an equal weighting. These shades are named after men, with examples like you have a shade called Magnus, a shade called Federico, and Tony, Roberto, etc. The brand also broke through by featuring men in campaign wearing lipsticks. In order to adapt to the men's market, the brand has also released a clutch-sized version, so it makes it easier for men to actually carry their lipstick within their pockets. As we all know, men don't tend to actually bring bags when they go out. Many other designer brands have since followed in Tom Ford's footsteps. We see that Givenchy and Chanel have released their own men's makeup line, Boy Chanel and Givenchy Men's, to target the youngest segment and the shoppers of tomorrow. And we have seen these two brands actually releasing their lines in Hong Kong in 2019 and 2020. Here's another example I would like to share. This is Heineken's latest global campaign. Traditionally, beer ads have been associated to target males, but this new Cheers for All campaign actually features a very interesting juxtaposition of a waiter bringing in a cocktail and a beer and assuming that the cocktail is the woman's and the beer is the man's. But the truth is the opposite, and she makes a mistake. In the next scene, you see a waiter bringing in a plate of salad and a burger and automatically passing the salad to the woman and the burger to the man, just to actually make the same confusion again. In an interview, the brand's senior director stated that the ad specifically targets the younger generation into reminding them of their core values that everyone should be free to enjoy the drink they prefer and should be free to enjoy their sexuality and personalities as well. Let's move on to the second part of the presentation. Let's talk about what this new group of Gen Z customers bring to the table, especially focusing on the innovations that are changing the retail landscape. My presentation would not be complete if we didn't talk about the new digital technologies, as they are creating massive upheavals in the whirlwind in the retail industry. We'll be focusing on AI, artificial intelligence, and its application from both online and offline retailers. Up until now, the majority of the digital revolution was focused on the device, yet for the next few years, we expect the device to fade and the intelligence assistant to lead the way, as mentioned by Google's CEO Sundar Pichai. You can think about Alexa in US or 小爱同学 in China as an example. Moving forward, they will be way more than just smart speakers, way more than the Amazon Echo, but rather the core technology that's in it. We're already seeing Alexa being integrated into smart amenities in the household such as doorbells, lights, and locks. As for 小爱同学, we are seeing it move over into a computer mouse form with a microphone and a speaker, as well as the 小爱同学 assistant integrated into the device. Now, let's look at how retailers are embracing this groundbreaking technology. First, I want to bring light to Echo Look, Amazon's voice-integrated camera and your personalized shopper, which uses Alexa technology, the technology we just mentioned in the previous slide. Echo Look helps customers get dressed. This hands-free camera actually takes a picture of you, leverages on AI and input from fashion designers to analyze your outfit and give you a recommendation. A specific integrated feature in the device is called Style Check, which can actually analyze which outfit suits you better, as well as give you a reason why this outfit suits you better. Next, Echo Look will help customize the outfit, search and prompt the customer to the Amazon platform. Echo Look is AI application within its finest in the e-tailing scenery. So how are physical stores actually harnessing this game-changing technology? Store-based retailers are also experimenting with the adoption of artificial intelligence, as I would like to share with you some examples. Last August, a German grocery retailer Colruyt installed AI-powered cameras at their checkout. This smart camera works in conjunction with the scales mounted at their tills, and it's actually really smart. As soon as you walk past with your food and vegetable and put it on the till, they can actually instantly differentiate between the 120 types of fruits and vegetables they have in store. The camera also recognizes if you are carrying a bag, a reusable bag that is provided by the grocer, and automatically excludes the weight of the bag in the tabulated purchase price and weight. Colruyt's primary purpose of installing these smart cameras was to make sure that checkout was faster and more efficient, but now it has an extra benefit of reducing packaging waste. We see another example here. In last June, a Norwegian supermarket operator, Extra, opened up a little extra supermarket in Oslo. From 7 in the morning to 11 at night, this acts as a typical Extra outlet. But during off hours, though the store is unmanned, but customers can still actually access the premises via an airlock using Extra's mobile app. Identification is verified by using your Norwegian bank ID system. Customers can feel free to roam the entire store, well, except the alcohol aisle, and can pay for their baskets at the automated checkouts. Talking about examples from the other sides of the world may seem a bit too far. So, let's just zoom back into Hong Kong and look at how technology helps create better customer experience for today's shoppers. 2 years ago, Hong Kong's retail giant A.S. Watson's opened the CKC 18 store in Central, which brings together their top retail formats: Watson's the drugstore, Fortress, their tech store, Watson's Wine the winery, as well as Parking Shop, the very well-known supermarket. The store introduces the latest retail technology to help optimize customers' journey. At the beauty sector of the store, Watson's Lab, they have installed these Style Me tablets, which is equipped with AR technology and instantly virtualizes how the customer would look when applying different products and makeup that is available within the store. This hassle-free and smart application has been very favorable among Gen Z customers who long for not only convenience but also digital inspiration during their shopping experiences. This year, the company upped its game again by opening the Play Glam store, this time in a more local and residential area of Hong Kong in Tuen Mun. The store targets beauty lovers with its Meitu Skin Analyzer at the Makeup Stone, which can analyze up to 12 different skin problems and conditions with AI technology in order to provide the most personalized advice and product recommendations. Customers can also create a personal skin testing profile in the device in order to monitor their skin conditions. Being able to test, recommend, and try on products with these AI technologies enables A.S. Watson's to go one step further towards developing the first unmanned and drug grocery stores here in Hong Kong. Lastly, I want to talk briefly about experiential centers, as they are the hot topic right now, and they really focus on addressing the individualism of Generation Z. So if you look at the picture on the top, here you're seeing Digital Playground, an experience center by Samsung in London, where you can roam around different areas such as the lecture hall, cooking classes area, yoga studio, concert hall. And interesting fact is, you can experience in this center, but you cannot buy products here. Consumers will be able to test product claims and try on products in context of their final usage before release. This is an area for customers to spend time, engage with the brand, test, and have fun. Such experience centers work as a great family weekend destination as well as a community center. Similarly, if you look at the picture on the bottom, in Korea, the beauty giant Amore Pacific opened the Amore Saison towards the end of last year. In the style of a beauty library where customers can apply and spray over 2,300 products from 30 of Amore Pacific's brands. The center also offers other services such as makeup classes, flower box classes, and perfume making classes at every month to encourage customers to participate. These experiences stores help customers tap into the concept of omni-channel shopping, allowing customers to try on products in a pressure-free environment and then making the purchase anytime afterwards after more validation and research, which is great for tomorrow's shoppers. As we all know, we are very cautious and tend to make a lot of evaluation before making a purchase. Now, let's get back to the Generation Z customer, the passionate, individualistic, young type. You may ask me, Emily, what if they do not want to consume anymore? You told me that they value all these experiences. They're all about ethically sustainable, and they don't want to buy, but they want to share. Will they not buy anymore? Well, be calm, rest assured. By 2030, the population is expected to reach 9 billion people, which means that they will still have the need to spend on both discretionary and non-discretionary items. This is why here in Euromonitor, we estimate that consumer expenditure is still expected to double by 2030. You just have to be mindful of how to cater and position yourself to the Gen Z customers to stimulate their spending motivations. Here we have the graph of the key attributes they consider before making a purchase. We can see that quality and value will continue to be the most important factors for Gen Z household when making purchasing decisions. It means that brands are required to focus a lot more on these features. At the same time, they will also want brands which are ethical and environmentally friendly as well as sustainable. Second-hand products are expected to boom as well. I guess we can all tell by Carousel's rapid expansion here in the Hong Kong market. The future consumers are pragmatic. They are digital natives who uses smart technology, value convenience and stability. Let's not forget Greta Thunberg, the Swedish environmentalist who won the Times Most Influential Person of 2020. She herself is going to be one of our future customers. Circular and sharing economy will rule in the examples you see here. Electrolux, a Swedish appliances manufacturer, is collaborating with Karma, a startup offering smart fridges and supermarkets in Sweden. Using Karma app, customers can buy unsold food at the end of the business day at a reduced price. During the pilot phase, the app has already been very successful as they saw supermarkets have an uplift of 30% of surplus food that otherwise would have been wasted by the end of the day. Another two apps here are Oli and Food Cloud. The Oli app is like the Tinder for food. It allows people to connect with their neighbors and share food using cloud technology. Similarly, Food Cloud also allows you to donate food. All of these are really nice examples to show how future generations will be smart about their consumption and going towards the zero waste commitment. We have gone over many examples, some on a global scale, some that are more APAC specific, some that are online, and some that are offline. I'm sure there's been a lot for you to absorb, but before I pass on to Vincent, here are just a few key takeaways for you to remember. Tomorrow's shoppers are multicultural and fluid. They are also digital savvy, and they look for technologies that can help them consume smart. They have a high expectation to brands. Therefore, as retailers, in order to cater for this segment, you really need to focus on creating long-term value and embrace the sharing economy. This comes to the end of my presentation today. Thank you all for listening. And if you have any questions, feel free to actually input them in Zoom. We will have a question time where we will be able to answer your questions. And with no further ado, let me pass on to the next speaker. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Leung, for the insightful and informative sharing on some of the latest retailing trends around the world. So for audiences who are interested, you may scan the QR code on the screen right now to download the presentation, and you may contact Emily for some more private discussion afterwards. Next, let's welcome our speaker, Mr. Vincent Mark, Director of Really Design, to share with us on trends in designing new customer experiences. Mr. Mok, please.
Thank you, host, and thank you, Emily. This is Vincent. So thanks again for TDC inviting me to share about the designing customer experience trend. So let me start by introducing myself a bit and my company. Really Design or Really Design is a brand and design consultancy founded in 2016. And what we believe is good design is more than just pretty. So we do a lot of design workshop, research and insight, and we also provide solutions based on branding and identity design, packaging design, and we do retail experience. These are some of our dear clients, and you may know that there's K11, Omnipork, and some global brands like Zippo and Toto. I will show a little bit more on what we do, and for example, we work for retail brands like Leung Tea House and some men's grooming products. And we also work multidisciplinary, that we do online e-commerce platform, and we also do local campaigns and promotional stuff. Yep. And for example, you can see that we also work a lot on packaging and retail experiences, and also marketing strategy, for example, Omnipork and Green Monday products. So when you look into the topic today, you may think of what's the 2021 product design trend. And first, when you search this online, you may come with some stunning pictures like this, and you may think of, just as what Emily just said, something like IoT products, making your UI more interactive, making the logo more emotional, attractive, and you may even think about to have sustainable packaging design, and also how you can do it in terms of typography and graphics to make it more stunning. But what we believe is all the style and technology is actually just the enabler that help you to create a better customer experience. So it's always about how you understand your consumer and how you create a good connection with them. So you may ask, so what makes a great customer experience? In our opinion, we can cut it simple into 3 steps. Step 1, you need some data to support and find some insights. And then you have to think very human-centrically, like you create the whole process, you think like human, and you understand the needs of your clients. And then we can create some very great customer experience. So where we believe, though we focus a lot on design solutions, that we believe that design is where science and arts break even. That's the science part is definitely about the research and the data. You may heard of big data, that all these years everybody chasing for the big data, having this all external data, and also to understand about the human behavior trend. But you may also heard of another term called small data nowadays. Is actually something that inside your own enterprises, which is very interesting that imagine that is 50 years ago, you own a convenience store. So you see people pass by day, all the peak hours, and you have the logbook on all the stock. You're actually observing and you're collecting data for your own store. So actually, if each business and each enterprises are collecting data for themselves from the beginning of the day. So what we want to emphasize here is you have to make use of all these big data and small data to drive meaningful insights that help you to connect to your consumer. So one very good example is Netflix. And we all know that this fast-growing platform that create a very dynamic and complete user profile for themselves and help them to improve their business and services. That, of course, they study about numbers like the device people use, the time and date when people see a show, and the rating, the content, and also the number of search on a certain shows. But what's more interestingly is not always just about the numbers. They also do screen cap and screenshot, like which shows people keep looking at and repeatedly, and they have a very dynamic profile of how people interact and engage with Netflix platform. So it gives us a very good insight that how we make use of data and drive it a meaningful connection with our consumer. So next, we have to be very human-centric, right? As you have heard of AI, the artificial intelligence, it has been a long time we're mentioning it, but there's a new AI terms by Pauline Brown, the former executive from LVMH, US. She bring up a term called aesthetic intelligence. So what it means is, it is the pleasure that we derive from perceiving an object or experience through our senses. So aesthetic, this term is not just about the beauty of a product, it's actually about the connection and the pleasure how people interact with your product and also the services. Again, when you search online, you may find that, well, when you try to be human-centric, you get all this circle, you have to be viability, concerned about the feasibility and desirability of your product and the design, but actually, put it very simple. This is just about how you truly care about the needs of your consumer. It's about the empathy that you put into your business and understanding your target audience. A very good and classic example is the ketchup bottle. So we all have different kind of branded glass ketchup, right? But we all know how messy it could be and how difficult it is when you want to use it and get the ketchup out. So that when you turn from brand-centric into very human-centric, you get a new bottle. So it's easy to use, it won't get you mess. So this is one of the examples that how we make use of this kind of mindset and thinking to create something great and providing a good customer experience. So this is what we believe that customer experience has been very important now, because all these online shoppings and all the big sum and the mass different kind of products in the market, is somehow sometimes difficult to create a very special, unique selling point for a product. But every business could create a very unique customer experience for their business. So together with data, you get an insight. With a human-centric thinking, you get a solutions, and then you can create something very unique for your brand and connect with your consumer. A good example that we want to share is Walmart. You can tell that even on their own website, you can find that how they make use of big data and to optimize the supply chain and optimize their product assortment. But what's more interestingly is how they make use of these big data to make change of how they interact with the people. For example, they do all the study of different store locations, and they understand their target audience and the shoppers, and then they decided whether they should get more staff there or more self-checkout machine there. So it's really useful to make use of these data and think about how you connect with your consumer. But what's more interestingly is how Walmart make use of this data and make minor changes, because we always think about all these big data and big stuff, we have to invest a lot into it. But we never think about how a small change could affect the whole business and bring positive effect to sales. For example, a greeter program that they have been used for years. They have abandoned it before, but now in recent years they reintroduced this program because they believe this welcoming old man could help them to boost sales, and which is. Also, they understand human. They understand that when there's too many choices, it's difficult to make decisions. So they have now they have fewer size of ketchup in the store or some other products, so that people got less choice, but then it still encouraged them to make the decision to buy, to shop. So again, it's boost sales. They care about the experience as well, so that when they have lowered the shelf near the gate and the entrance. So the reason doing it is because when people walk in, they can have the whole picture of the superstore, so that they won't feel like they're going into a maze. And which is very amazing that all these minor changes, which we believe is not very costly, and all these helping people to have better engagement with the brand and also the experience in retails. One example that we would like to share, which is our very own examples, is about the first plant-based vegan pork, Omni Pork. And our client definitely had a good study and data, understanding the market in Southeast Asia, understanding how pork related to carbon footprints and also related to the consumption in Asia. So with all this, they launched the very first vegan pork, Omni Pork. But what's more interesting and how we take part to make this whole experience better is the marketing strategy. When we thought of all these kind of frozen vegan plant-based meats, because of the nature, it's got to be frozen, and you always see it in some high-end supermarket because it's something new, it's something very futuristic to most of the people. But then what we decided is we should get into the true target audience. As we all know that home cooks and housewives, they enjoy a lot of buying fresh food, that they enjoy going to the wet market to shop. So that Omni Pork have that pop-up store in Lok Fu Market and some other wet market, which they even open this right opposite to a real butchers, so that people compares about the real pork and the vegan pork, and they enjoy the experience a lot, and they really have a deep connection with the brand. And apparently this bring them very great success in terms of sales. And also when you compare Omni Pork to other kind of vegan meats, for example, they usually come into the form of a sausage, vegan nuggets, and vegan hamburger patty, but it's never in a raw material form. But Omni Pork is unseasoned. And the interesting thing is because we value about the creative cooking experience, that we believe that all home cook or housewife would enjoy the cooking process a lot, so that we did all these recipe with our clients and encourage this creative cooking experience. And all this actually really bring a great success for the Omni Pork family. And our client is continuously gathering some data and feedbacks, and they know their next step, what should they do. And what interestingly is the next product is also based on this study. And they even upcoming have that Omni Pork luncheon meat, which is a vegan version of Spam, so which brings them great business success. So today I'm just going to share like some very brief ideas and examples, hopefully could get everyone know the ideas of and the importance of customer experience. So as a conclusion, we encourage everyone to use data, think human, create experience, and we wish everyone could do a very great business. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mok. It was a very inspiring presentation with some of the very concrete examples. Now you can see on the screen Mr. Mok's contact. So if you want more private discussion with him, feel free to contact him for any questions, inquiries, or discussion. So now here comes to the Q&A section. We have received a few questions from our audiences actually. And here is the first question to Emily. And this question is from our audience, Miss Annie Zhang. She asked, what are the key challenges for businesses when applying new technologies to attract customers? what are the things they have to pay attention to, and do you have any suggestions for them?
As I mentioned before, I think when applying new technologies to businesses, we all know that this new generation of customers, so the millennials and Generation Z, they are not only focused on the technologies, but they are focusing on what the technology brings to them. Does it help them drive convenience? Does it actually address their personality traits of being open-minded? Does it match with their core values? Or does it even have a kind of corporate social responsibility to it? So in terms of using technology is one thing, but how to use technology smart is another thing. So we're seeing several examples that we raised today is using technology in terms of creating an impact. So today's customers, they are a lot more about how can you give back to the environment, be socially responsible, as well as give back to the local community. So I think when applying these sorts of technologies, suppliers have to be mindful of what sort of impacts they are bringing, and does it address or match the core values of today's customers and shoppers.
Thank you very much, Emily, for the response. And the second question is for Vincent, and it is from our audience, Mr. Calvin Zheng. His question is, any tips for small businesses to create attractive stories or experiences with a very limited budget?
I think that all business has its own story. For example, we have a case like how actually it's a quite recent project we're working for, and is frozen fruit projects, and the background of them is the owner's own story, that when she go to overseas study and how she experienced that warmth, that how she missed the home food. So that's the reason how she built up this brand, and the reason why she started the business. She want to share the joy and share how the feeling of a home to all the other people. So I mean, it's really some very own experience that you're experiencing that makes you unique in the market. So what I would recommend is do not try to follow others. You have to take out what's true to yourself, and you have to be honest to your customer. And by then, how you make it attractive and pretty, I would say you could have my contact, and we could discuss this later on.
So here comes to the end of the Q&A section. If you have any further questions, please feel free to contact the speakers after the webinar today for some private discussions. And here comes to the end of today's webinar. I believe the remarkable presentations of our speakers have provided you inspirations and some new thoughts. 今天的研讨会圆满结束，再次感谢讲者精彩的分享。Before you go, we would like to invite you to fill out our questionnaire to let us have your feedback. 为了更了解各下的想法以及意见，我们诚邀各下填写研讨会的问卷。Thank you very much for joining us today, and wishing you all fruitful business in the summer sourcing weeks go online. Thank you again to all our speakers and to our audience. 再次感谢各位今天的参与，再见。